Well, hey, junior high parents, I hope you all are doing great. Man, I hope you all had an amazing Easter weekend. Hopefully, you were able to join us at one of our services here at Crossroads. We had a really incredible weekend with some great music, great preaching. Actually, if you didn't get to come and hang out with us, I highly encourage you to go to crossroadson23.com with your kids and watch one of our services with them. It'll be a really great time. Even my 9-year-old daughter, Cozy, sat in service with us, and she said, I loved service. This was great. She loved the music. Believe it or not, she even loved the message. So I encourage you guys to do that. But anyway, I wanted to reach out to all of you, and I hope you guys take the time to watch this video because we're coming up on a series with our junior high kids starting this Wednesday where we're going to be talking to them about sex. You know, this is something we do every other year, and a lot of times people ask the question, why are you talking to my 11-year-old kid about sex? And so I actually lived through the exact reason why, which is what I'd love to share with you. So I was talking with my son Micah when he was about 10 years old, and he said, Dad, I know how babies are made. And I said, oh yeah? And he goes, yeah. I just can't figure out how they get the babies in the mommy's butts so they can poop them back out. And I was like, boy, we need to talk. You know, because what I started realizing is as I was asking him where he was getting these crazy ideas, and he's like, well, Keaton tells me this, or this person saw this in a movie, so they think this. So I started realizing, as much as I thought my son wasn't necessarily at a place where sex was a big deal or something he was thinking about a lot, what I started realizing is he was being inundated with ideas about what sex looks like and what it means in relationships, and the idea he's getting from movies. Even we watched Iron Man together, you know, and all of a sudden Tony Stark, when he first meets this girl in Iron Man 1, like the opening scene, the next scene, she's like tackling him into bed and they're ripping their clothes off and everything. And it's Iron Man, you know, it's an Avengers movie. So I started to think about this, and I've thought about this for years. You know, our kids from the age of 9, 10, 11 years old, the shows they're watching, whether at home or at a friend's house, or the shows their friends are watching and talking to them about, they're getting all these ideas about what sex is and should look like. So I thought, man, the church has been too quiet about this for too long. Like, why should culture get the monopoly on teaching our kids what a healthy sex life should look like? So that's when we started doing series as young as junior high. And I want to tell you a couple things. Like, one, our idea is not to introduce ideas that your kids haven't heard before. You know, they're not going to walk out of here thinking, man, sex sounds awesome. I want to go do that with somebody, you know. No, our idea or our motive behind this is to teach our kids what a healthy sexual relationship can be and the purpose of it, more so than, you know, insert this into that and what have you. So that's our whole thought, our whole theory behind teaching our kids this. You know, there's a statistic out there that says a good chunk of kids have their first sexual encounter at 12 years old. That's when the majority of people have their first sexual encounter is 12 years old, which would land them smack dab in the middle of our junior high velocity group. So we're going to be talking about this, but I wanted to be upfront and let you guys know what we're going to be talking about. And we're going to keep every week, like we always have, sending out our parent cues. So I know maybe by this point, some of you just take those videos and whoop, or those emails and whoop, drop them in the trash, which is, you know, hurtful. But I really want to encourage you all to check in with these videos for this series, because this is a very important conversation. And if it's one you haven't had with your kids yet, maybe you're like, I don't know if I'm ready to have that conversation. My hope for this series we're doing at Velocity is it'll bring up this conversation for you, and you'll have some resources through us here at Velocity, because, man, our whole goal is to partner with you as parents to develop your child's faith. So, man, if there's anything we can do, we'll be sending resources, articles. You know, we've already sent articles in previous parent Q emails about what to do. I caught my son looking at porn, what now? Or I caught my child looking at porn. So here's what we're going to be covering in this series, okay? Week 1, which will be this Wednesday, we're going to start off just kind of talking about the purpose of sex. What is its true purpose and its true intention? We're going to dig into Genesis and take a look at the fact that when God encouraged Adam and Eve to be fruitful and multiply, which for us kids in Baptist school, you know, whenever we heard that verse, it was like, ooh, that means they're going to do it. But, you know, the purpose of that was to unite them as one flesh. It was the closest thing that I believe God thought we as humans could comprehend as a symbol of the closeness God wants to have with us. Sex is a symbol of God's promises and his desires to be with us, that oneness, to become one flesh. So we're going to talk about in week 1 that this is not just something that you meet a hot reporter when you're Iron Man and you're like, yes, let's go do it real quick. Or when you're in high school, it's not like what a lot of romantic high school films look like. The climax, no pun intended, is when they finally have sex. That is something so much more than that. Sex is about taking 2 unique individual lives and joining them not only physically, but spiritually as well. So that's what we're going to do in week 1, is just introduce it and talk about how sex is good, and it's also very, very powerful. In week 2, we're going to talk about technology. I know a lot more kids are having smartphones now. I showed our symbol upside down. That's embarrassing. But my son has a smartphone, an iPhone 6, that I gave him my old phone and he uses it. Our kids have access to an unlimited internet where they can find anything they want to, and you may even limit them at home, but you can't necessarily watch what they do with their friends or at their friends' houses. So we're going to talk about technology, and we're going to look at 1 Corinthians chapter 6, where it talks about, think on these things, think on things above, put your mind on things above, and don't let those sinful thoughts dominate your heart. And we're going to talk about the fact that what it's talking about in that verse is that Greek word porneia, which is where we get the word pornography from, is any sexual thought that cannot be righteously fulfilled. Righteously fulfilled, of course, being within the confines of marriage, which is what God intended. So we're going to have a conversation about technology and the importance. You think it's not a big deal when you look at this picture or this video, but we're going to talk about the actual damage that those kinds of things can have on your soul to hopefully point the students towards something better. In week 3, we're going to talk about confession is good and confession is powerful. And in that time, we're going to encourage our kids that if they have crossed that line, wherever they think it is, to talk to their small group leaders about it. These may be conversations that they're nervous to have with you. And of course, as small group leaders, if it ever gets to a place, if the conversation is to a place that we think you need to be brought in the loop, which of course, we always bring you all in the loop. Y'all know this. If you've had any, interaction with us here at Velocity, we're not shy about talking to parents and breaking students' confidence if we have to, if we feel like they're in an unsafe position. All right, so we're going to talk about encouraging them to talk to somebody, have an open dialogue with you as their parents, with their small group leaders, talk to somebody about this kind of stuff. And then in week 4, we're going to talk about boundaries, putting boundaries into place and how boundaries are good and they're powerful, not necessarily to make you like a prude or anything, but to protect yourself, to protect your sexual integrity. So one day when the time comes, they do want to give their life to another person, they can give their whole self. So we run through the whole gamut of things in this series with our junior high kids. And again, the whole focus of this is to show them that sex is powerful and it's intended to take 2 unique lives and join them as one. So if you have any further questions about the series, feel free to reach out. You can call the church here, email me. If you respond to this email, it'll come to me. Any kind of questions like that. And again, every week we'll be sending out that Parent Q email on the following Monday, which will have some questions for you to walk through with your kids. Even if you've never done that before, this is the perfect series to start. Have this conversation with your kids, because I'll tell you something. They are going to be getting messages about sex from somewhere. They're going to be hearing about what it is, what it means. I had these conversations with my friend in 4th grade, who in my mind, he was like Hugh Hefner, man. He was talking about all the sex he's had, which, is also a compulsive liar, but, it's fine. But they're going to be getting this message from somewhere. We here at Velocity believe they should get it first and foremost from the Word of God. So that's what we're going to do, is try to communicate to them God's purpose and intentions for sex. So if you have any further questions about it, or if you're like, I don't know if I should send my kid, let me answer that question for you. You should. They need to hear about God's intentions for this thing called sex. It's not dirty. It's not wrong. But it is something that's worth saving for just that one other person. All right. I hope you guys have a great week, man. And I really hope you get your kids here on Wednesday for this series. It's called None of Your Business. And we're really looking forward to it. So thank you, parents. Thank you so much for allowing us to partner with you here at Velocity. And again, if you have any questions about the series coming up, feel free to reach out. I'm an open book. I'll talk to you about anything and everything we're doing. All right. Thank you all so much, and we'll see you all soon. Bye.